Hello and welcome to the Roadster Experience. My name is Jim and I will be your guide as we build a Factory 5 Roadster my way. May God help us. So this all started about 15 years ago, and as I'm walking into the gym, what do I see but a bright red Shelby Cobra, a Factory 5 Cobra that the guy had just completed. It was gorgeous, and in that moment I decided I suddenly needed one of these. Leap forward about 10, 15 years, and here I am about to retire, and I decide this is going to be my retirement project. So step one, I took a trip to wear a mask to see the factory. And if you haven't done that, I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, do so. It was great to get to see all the different cars together, actually sit in them, try them on for size, and see what the different seats mean in terms of fit when you sit inside the car. That actually meant a lot to me because the Cobra actually has a pretty tight fit. And I have long legs. Also get to take a look around the factory and see how these things come together, how they're packed up, and how they're shipped. Spent the afternoon there, wrote them a check for the deposit. Came home, immediately signed up for the build school at Mott College. The build school at Mott College, is it worth it? Well, I have a pretty extensive background in turning wrenches. I started racing motocross when I was a kid. And then my son grew up racing everything from go-karts all the way up to wing sprint cars. And we turn wrenches on those pretty much 24/7 to keep them going. Also managed to build a couple airplane kits along the way. So I know how things go together. So the question is, was the school worth it? Well, absolutely. If you've never turned a wrench before, you're not really familiar with working on cars, I would consider it almost essential. One of the things that I picked up from the course was all of the isms, the shortcuts. The book says to do it this way, but we've been building these for 10 years, and we found if you do this process first, it makes the whole build go more smoothly. So I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, go attend the Mott School. Another benefit to attending the Mott College is once you graduate, you get your certificate, you send it into Factory 5, and then you give you a $250 credit. Finally, it's the big day. The big Factory 5 truck pulls up in the end of my driveway, and we begin unloading. First, I can't say enough about Stewart Transport. They kept me informed the whole way about where the car was in the process, and the driver was exceptionally helpful, not only en route, but once he got here, he was extremely helpful in getting us all unloaded and make sure we had all the stuff that we were supposed to have. The truck is all set up with a special gantry that allows you to lower the car off, and they have a dolly that comes with the truck to help you push it up into your garage. Then with the help of the driver and my other helpers on hand, we just lifted the chassis up onto the rack that I was going to store it on and got all 40 boxes brought into the garage and scattered about. Step one is to inventory every one of the pieces, parts that's in all those boxes. Now, I'll caution you, the checklist is very thorough, but on some of the boxes, you'll see it just says Box 10, aluminum parts. Well, you'll open it up, and inside will be another checklist that'll allow you to check off all the individual parts that are supposed to be in that box. Make sure you're very thorough, keep track of what you're missing, get that information to Factory 5, and they'll get those parts headed your way as soon as they become available. In my case, it only took about a week, and I already had the 2 items I was missing headed my way. All right, so now I've got my inventory complete. It's time to actually start working on the car. Step one for me was to get the body off the chassis. They say you can do it with 2 people, and in fact you can, but I highly recommend you have 4 people the first time you pull it off because it is a bit of an octopus. All right, so one of the things I got out of the school was that a good technique is once you get the body pulled off is to go ahead and clean it up and cover the bottom with Herculiner or some bed liner product. I'm going to use Herculiner. One of the things I'm concerned about is I know I have to trim the inside of these wheel wells here, and I'm not sure how my saw is going to do with the bed liner, so I wanted to go ahead and do that before I put the bed liner on. So in order to get a nice line around here, I came up with this little gizmo. It's basically just a piece of aluminum with a hole 1/4 of an inch up from the edge of the bend. And I grab my marker and I just run this right along the edge, and it gives me a nice consistent 1/4 inch line all the way around that I will trim up with the saw and with a sanding wheel. And I'll do that on all 4, And also they recommend taking a 1/4 inch off of the inside here where the dashboard's going to go, and the carpet on the rear waterfall area. So that's what we're going to do today. Following the instructions on the Herculiner, I laid a piece of plastic down in the grass in the front yard, wiped down the inside of the car, and then began sanding it. I used 80 grit paper and went over the entire interior of the car body. Once I got done with the joyous chore of sanding in 97-degree heat, I wiped it all down with acetone and began taping off any of the areas that I didn't want to get covered with undercoating. Once that was done, I used a brush to get in the tight areas and then followed up with a roller to cover everything else. I was able to get 2 full coats on the entire body, plus a 3rd coat inside the wheel wells with 1 gallon Herculiner. All right, with the undercoating dry on the body, we put it back on the body buck and slipped it back into the garage. Next step was to get the aluminum off. In my case, I intend to powder coat the aluminum, so what I wanted to do was get all the holes drilled and get everything fitted properly before I took it apart and set it off to powder coat. I started with the footwells, got both foot boxes done, then did the trunk, and I elected to not do anything in the interior of the car because based on what I learned at the school, there's a lot of ifs and things move around based on different options, so I decided better safe than sorry, we'll just drill those when I get them back. If I do scratch a piece of powder coat while I'm putting it inside the cockpit area, it really doesn't matter because that stuff's all going to get covered with carpet anyway. The purpose of the powder coat in that area is mainly to protect the bottom of the car. So after looking at the way the foot boxes were put together, I figured the best way to do this was to start from the bottom and work my way up, and that's exactly what I did. I drilled and clecoed and positioned everything just the way I wanted it, all the way up to the top. And then once everything was clecoed in place and everything was solid and just the way I wanted, I was able to take it apart and set it aside to get it ready to go to powder coat. Based on what I've read on the forums, I feel like I was pretty lucky because I brought all the aluminum to my powder coater and he quoted me $400 to do it all in satin black. Well, with everything off at powder coating, that about does it for this video. I appreciate you all hanging around to the end. I hope you hit that like and subscribe and you come see us on the next one. And remember, this is my first crack at this video stuff, so as we move on, the production quality and the content will get better in each video, so stick with us.